Hello, ladies. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I'm so glad you guys are here today and can join. I'll be recording this and sharing it for a few people who have reached out and just say they're traveling. 'Tis the season for vacations and things like that. So that's just how it is. We have to get in our work and our healing and our self-care and things when we can get it in. So that's why I love that things are so flexible and you have a lot of options for different things, including the circle time. So I'm really excited about the topic today. I'm going to literally take it. Actually, had an app member give this great suggestion. I said, I'm absolutely going to do that. Like, we're a community, so that's what we're going to do. And she was going through the course on the app and just sort of going through and really reflecting all week on different parts of it. So I said, she's like, we should just do that on the circle. That would be really good. I would just love to hear everybody else's perspective and just how we go through it. So the topic today and the course that's in the app is we're about to call out the haters today. Calling out the haters today. Okay. And our biggest hater, the one that if we take this hater down, it is the hater of all haters, is the inner critic. It's the hater inside. I know y'all was hoping it was gonna be your neighbor or your colleague that be harassing you or your boss. Nope, biggest hater is you. And that is the leader of all haters. So if you can take out the leader, you can take out the following. So one of the techniques in the coaching things that we're going to go through is how to turn your inner critic into an outside spectator. This is a technique I do with a lot of my clients across the board, especially top level execs and professionals, because, that inner critic could really stop you from getting things done, moving to the next level. It can make you second guess. It could just do a lot of different things. And so the way that I help them with that inner chatter and that inner critic is to turn it into an outside spectator, because you can't fight anything you can't see, right? Like, we be ready to fight somebody, right? If they're in front of us telling us some stuff, if somebody in front of you was like, you're not good enough, you're not going to be able to add any new ideas to this. Like, your ideas is whack. You'll be like, first of all, let me give you my credentials, right? You be ready to go in. But when it's yourself, you listen to it like, dang, maybe you're right. So this technique, go ahead, Tavisha.
I'm sorry. It should be on mute.
Oh, you're fine. I thought you was like, I'm beating up, I'm like biting at the at the at the nips of this one. But so yeah, so that is what we're going to talk about, how to exactly do that. I know this technique works. I have used this for so many clients, including myself, and they have really come back saying, oh my goodness, that inner critic thing, it's a thing. So we're going to go, and I'm going to do the suggestion as the app community. And this is a lot of interaction, because we'll, like, the way she suggested, I thought was a really good idea. So I'm literally pulling it up on the course of the app. If you don't already have it downloaded, which you all have it because y'all part of the community. I'm going to go right through the course, how it's laid out. If you haven't finished the course, you go to your premium access. If you go to coaching practices, it is the most recent one, which is calling out your haters, transforming inner criticism into self-compassion. And this is the cool thing that we're going to be able to do with it, is that as we identify the inner critic and we are able to see what it's saying, we can really alchemize that energy of just the negative response and things, and we can alchemize that and turn it into self-compassion as well. So it's like, this technique is multifaceted. It has a lot wrapped in this technique. So I'm going to open it. And if I definitely, you guys want to take notes or anything comes up, we'll be opening it up for sure. for discussion. So I'm gonna go in. No, I'm a computer being a hater. Oh, because I finished it. That's why I was like, you already completed it. Okay. So the first one is recognize your inner critic. Start by becoming aware where your inner critic arises. Notice the negative self-talk, the self-doubt, and the judgment you make about yourself. So can anybody think of a time when their inner critic arises the most? I'll use some of my clients, for example, that we had worked on recently. It was whenever she was going into a meeting, she would realize she had the inner critic. Like as soon as the meeting started, she would have in her mind, like, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna mention this, I'm gonna say this and this and this. As soon as the meeting started, that's when her inner critic was the loudest. It would be listening to other people and it'd be like, dang, that's actually the better idea. Or I can't really add anything more to what they said. Or dang, whenever Angela talks, she say it so well. And I know she's gonna have a better idea, right? The inner critic is like all up in that meeting. And so she would want to say something. Her inner critic was like, you probably need to research that before you speak it up here. This probably ain't the best meeting for it, right? So that is where when her inner critic was the loudest, like it was really interfering with her being able to show up in that meeting to the point that her leadership was saying like, you need to be more vocal in these meetings. She's an engineer, and you need to, really be participant. It almost looks like you checked out. And she's like, I swear to God, I'm not. It's just this is it. So that was for her where she heard it the loudest and where we worked on. Does anybody know like when this inner critic for them shows up the most?
I would say
Yeah.
my inner critic shows up whenever there is time to make any decision. It can be something as small as where am I pumping my gas to the biggest decision, a move, or just any decision. There's always doubt and fear of the unknown, or what would it look like if I use this gas close to what I used to use? It's always when it comes to decision making.
Mm-hmm. And can you think of a statement that your inner critic says, like, this is dumb? This is like, because the inner critic is very opinionated and statement factory. It's also a feeling, of course, but can you identify some particular thoughts you have that is the inner critic, like, this is so whack, or this is dumb, or like, can you give me like a statement or a phrase or something?
I know typically my it's always led because I am I go against the grain. So typically when I'm making a decision, it's not the usual or common what you'll see. So some of the statements will be, what if you fail? What if this isn't right? What if um just is this right? Are you making the
Mhm.
right decision?
That's perfect.
This isn't
Those
typical.
are the
This is what
statements you
everybody
want.
else do. This is probably against odds. It's always up against odds.
Right. That's it right there. That's it right there. Those are the statements that we want to really identify. It's like you gonna fail. This is gonna be a nightmare. You do not have all the information to make this decision. Like the more we can narrow down what that conversation is, like those actual statements or phrases, that is who we're turning into an outside spectator, because you probably have family, you probably didn't have friends to say the same thing that this inner critic does. But the reason why it bothers you when other people say it is because all they're doing is reflecting, right, your inner critic. You're seeing it face to face. So it'd be like, it's easy for me to tell my family when they saying like, you need to wait, or you need to do this, or you could fail, or this gonna be crazy. It's easy to be like, you don't know, blah, 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 blah. But then when it comes to us, we'd be like, well, maybe they're right. Maybe this is, maybe, right? So it's very important for us to turn our own um, critic into an outside spectator for ourselves so that we can go back, we can kind of question it and fight it like we would other people. So that's really, really good. The second one is name your inner critic. So give your inner critic a name. And this just helps with when it comes up, right? When you're very aware that this is not you, this is your inner critic that is having an opinion, giving it a name can kind of help you to identify it a little bit better. Even with one of the exercises that I give the coaching clients when they're working on that inner critic, is a journal specifically for the inner criticism. And it'll be the inner critic, and the inner critic get a journal. So you're able to dump all that inner criticism out, and giving it a name can sometimes help with starting to realize it is an outside, a different entity, it's an influence, and that we can address that and we can change that. So giving it a name. And that was actually one of my clients a couple years ago when I really started working on, doing work and creating different modalities and techniques to really work with the inner critic. And she started naming her critic, what it was something like Lolo or something like that, like Lolo come, because she was Filipino. It was like, when Lolo come, me and Lolo about to have it out. And she just kept naming it, and it really helped us. And I thought that's actually a really good idea to name it. And so she was like, it just helps me to realize like that is not me. You know what I mean? That is something that I have to address and fight and it's really a point of awareness. So that could be something you could try. Right. So open, close. That's the exercise. I don't need the exercise yet. At the end of this too, we'll go through more of the exercise. So now understanding the purpose. So understand that your inner critic often arises from a place of fear or past experiences. It may be trying to protect you from failure or disappointment, but its methods are often counterproductive. And for everybody who is just joining us, before we go into 3, we are talking about getting to our head hater, our number one hater, the leader of all haters, which is our inner critic, and turning it into an outside spectator, because we can't fight something we can't see, that we can't address. And it is an incredible ability and technique to really address and deal with your inner critic, and to take those and turn it into self-compassion for yourself. So understanding the purpose of your inner critic. Now, the inner critic had a very, very small role, right? It was that thing that had a very small role in your life. And then it just decided it wanted to be the star. And it just was like, it got ego happy. It was like, I'm the star of the show. I know what's best in this. The purpose sometimes when we're younger, and that inner criticism can drive us to do better, right? The inner critic was sort of purpose to drive us in the direction of where we sort of wanted to go. So it may have started out young, where you were first speaking for the first time, and you're a kid, and you're like, what if they laugh? What if I don't do well? Right. And it's a tool for us to build resilience, to overcome, to sort of like work through that. But then as we got older, it just started taking over the show, and it just started chiming in on stuff that ain't got nothing to do with it. And so understanding that when that inner critic can come in and say, oh, we don't know that much information about this, but we really want to research it and get better at it. And, maybe there is something there that we can grow. It's supposed to be helpful for you. Right. But then it started smelling itself, and it know the show. So understanding your inner critic often rises from a place of fear or past experience. So what happens is that inner critic got very cynical. It became how haters become haters: envy, jealousy. You know what I mean? Like, they ain't out there doing it themselves, so they criticizing everybody else that's out here actually trying to live their life. So your inner critic is doing the same thing. And what it's doing is, now when you're getting in that relationship, right, they're gonna say, we toxic in relationships. I don't know if this one gonna work. These dudes beat it, right? Like, well, goodness. I'm just saying, he got the same. I don't know. And it's very different from your intuition, because it is always going to come from a place of fear and doubt and a hater. Like, we know the tone haters have. Like, even haters come in all different shapes and sizes, but we all know how to identify that hater. Like, that's how you're working. That's what you're doing. We know it. We can feel it. We know it. We feel it because we actually portray it. Like, it's the personification. So, can anybody, just if you want to share, can identify a time, or not a time, but understand what that inner critic is for you, and how it comes up from past experiences or failure? Because we get to know y'all inner critic. We gonna get to know y'all haters real well. You know your hater better than anybody. So anybody want to say what they hater purpose of they hater is? All right, that's all right. Y'all shy this morning. That's all right. I'll
Will
give
you
y'all one of
repeat
my.
the question one more time?
I was saying, can you identify, or can you tell me the purpose of what do you think your hater or your inner critic is? Like, did it come from a fear, a past experience, or anything like that?
I can share. I think for me, really fully walking into, like, I can do, trainings and facilitate things like that very well. But coming into this, I guess, keynote speaking, motivational speaking, standing on stages, I know that mine came from, and I know this is like really crazy and wacky, but at the same time, I'm gonna share it, was
Yeah.
when I was in kindergarten and I was like Peter Rabbit's mother in a play. And I was doing very, very well up until my mom walked in, and like she walked in a little bit late. And that just kind of like, I don't know, it just completely threw me off. And so from that point in kindergarten, I've gotten better and worked through it after I identified, which is this is, really, really great topic this morning. It was like, okay, why am I so afraid when I'm on stages and I'm having to stand in front of people and share and speak? And it was because of, I guess I was a traumatic experience for me as a child. And so each time now that I'm speaking on stages, I'm standing in front of people, now I'm like, okay, listen, like Peter's rabbit mom is gone. That's over, over 30 something years ago. And like, you can do this. And so taking my deep breaths and just like really like debunking that moment to say, okay, like you're in your 40-year-old self now, and like you can do it. And so I know that that's where mine stemmed from. It took me a long time to try to figure that part out. But after I figured it out, it's like, okay, you know what? Like, you so much older and grown and mature and have gone through life, and people need to hear and be a part of the story of the journey in which you're focusing on. So that's mine. I think that's
Yes.
where mine began.
No, that's perfect. That's it right there. And for y'all don't know, that is Dr. Shante Howe. She is also a coach that really helps people to discover their purpose. And I'm really grateful to have you in this space too. I mean, you got an expert in the room. You know what I'm saying? You got to shout them out. So I'm just saying thank you. Any part that you want to chime in, we will welcome that. We are grateful. So thank you for chiming in on that. And that's exactly it. It all stemmed from somewhere in our past, somewhere in that trauma that it started to come up. And again, it was a baby. It was supposed to be this little thing, and then it just was like, I'm the star of the show and I'm taking over, and I know and it's just too much. That's perfect. So the fourth one is challenge the inner critic statement. When your inner critic speaks up, question its validity. Ask yourself if the statement is making true, helpful, or constructive. Often you'll find that they're not. And this is why the journaling is really important, because we all know that the inner critic, we know that inner hater, and we've carried it a long time, but we've just never took the time to turn it into an outside spectator and to go back and forth. Now, this is part of the exercise you're going to do. We're going to get a little schizophrenic. It's going to sound like I talk to myself when there is no one to talk to. People actually remember that song anyway. I would say not to do this in public, perhaps, but maybe at home by yourself. But really talking back to that. So when you're in those moments, like even Tavisha, you say it's like really making any decision, then when you are writing out, your day or your planner or anything like that, if you're vision boarding, however you're going to make those decisions, being able to capture what the inner critic is saying and be able to doubt them doubts, question them questions. When it says like, I don't think we're going to do good at this. And you like, how you know? Maybe we will, maybe we won't. You know, it's coming from a place of fear. It's coming from a place of trauma. It doesn't have all of the facts. It lives in a little tiny corner part of our ego. And so it doesn't have the ability to see all angles like we can. So it's only seeing from a very small lens, just like we have real haters, right? They only see us from a lens. They don't know everything it took for us to get to certain things and all the things we've done. It has a very small lens that it looks through. So being able to challenge the inner critic and challenge those statements, right? When you get up and in those, and the bigger we move, sometimes the bigger the critic will be like, hold on now, we starting to smell ourselves. This is starting to be a little too much. You could be like, but why? How is it too much? This is when you can speak life into the inner critic and say, but this is what we're purposed to do. And if we get it wrong, we'll keep going until we can do it right. This is where affirmations come into play. This is where affirmations work for us. We're telling them to the inner critic. We are stating them to the parts of us that doubt, that are fearful, that are like, we don't know, this seems kind of funky, and asking if those statements are true. And one or two things, the only time my inner critic, I listen and say, you might be onto something. It's only one thing, and that's me researching something a little bit more. That's pretty much it. Other than that, it ain't got much to. Because I'm spontaneous. I like to jump into. I'm very intuitive led, and sometimes it'll be like, maybe we need to research this before we just jump right in and do this about it. Like, let's research it because there might be some other angles to this. There might be some other. Okay, that's about it. Other than that, it's a hater. It don't serve me at all. So can anybody tell me a time, or even that you might be thinking of it now, where the inner critic, a hater, has said something to you and you challenged it with either an affirmation or some type of, because we go back and forth in our heads all the time. So does anybody want to share that moment where you've questioned that inner critic, or you've like just you said like, what how did you like go back and forth with it? If anybody wants to share that.
Stephanie, I'll go again because I do this.
Okay. We'll go to you and then
Like I
we'll go
said,
to
I've
Tavisha
done the
because I
work.
saw she looked like she had something too. So okay, go ahead.
Okay. I've been doing the work. And so now I'm in my Nuck If You Buck stage with myself when it comes
Look,
down to that. And so
yeah,
I
look if you
debunk.
look, babe.
Yes, I debunk. It's like, okay, girl, at this last thing, you had a standing ovation, or you had, 5 people to come up to you after
Yeah.
this engagement, and it was like, okay, you really transformed their life, or what you said really resonated with their spirit. And so, kind of going now over to the other side of it is like, okay, if I just touch one, then I've done what I needed to do. And so I'm thinking about the impacts and like the fact that I did do it and I am doing it. I just, as you say, give gratitude to the moments of time when I'm just like, okay, God, I'm so tired, but at least I'm tired and I've been doing this for myself. Or at least, I had enough courage to do, X, Y, and Z, or at least I made an impact. And so I think about, and again, kind of like going back to what you just said, it's just a gratefulness in it all, even when it seems challenging, even when it, seems like it was hard or is hard. Like I just go, like I said, into the Nuck If You Buck moment with myself and just like, okay, girl, you got this. And I hype myself up. I'm my own best friend. I don't say I don't need no music. Let me hype myself up. Let me hype my bestie up. So I'm hyping myself up this morning.
Dang. I wrote that down. The Nuck. We didn't all got to that Nuck If You Buck phase. I love how you said that. Yeah, that's how it is. You got to be like, look here. And you got to just have that energy with it sometimes. And they be like, damn, just like a real hater. You know what I'm saying? When you stand up to a hater, you see how much they cower because they cowards. I mean, that's just what they do. So I love that. Okay, Tavisha, you had something you was going to share?
I was just gonna say, first things first, like the way is it Shantae, I want to say. Was
Yeah.
that okay? The way she is speaking, it amazes me how people really don't know, okay, why am I showing up to a meeting? But then it is so fulfilling for those that's in that room. And it's just so much purpose in that because I share everything, the same feeling. And as I was speaking before about my fear, that is that thing with me, that fear. But it's amazing to see how there's always someone rooting me on, like, you got this, you can do it. And it's like me trying to do the work to identify what is that fear. Why am I afraid? I've never even experienced this. Why does this keep coming up? Why are you afraid to do the work? Why are you afraid to see what's behind door number 1, 2, 3, 4? But it's always my fear of the unknown or fear of what if I make a mistake. So the work for me has been what has truly happened for me to feel this way. Why do I feel I'm going to fail? And why do I feel I don't have within me to speak? Or why is it that I feel? And so I've been researching and trying to do the work to see why have I come to this conclusion? Why am I always at this stop or yield like I'm going to fail? I still haven't, I've yet to feel or come to that place that I've reached in my past of like such failure, so to speak. And again, I have great support always around me telling me, girl, you're really good at this and you do this and oh, we waiting on you to do that. But it's just still, maybe it's just a thing in me to where I don't want to let people down, or I've maybe seen others fail in this way. I don't want to be the one to fall like that. But I love that nuck if you buck. I mean, I'm carrying that. I'm going to take it on because I will get to a place like, okay, let me just do it. And once I do it, it's like, yay, you did it. Now, how could you have failed in that? You really have it. So you just got to do it. And again, you have the people around you that will support it, or even for self is there, but not believing quite in yourself to do it because of that hater within, is like, well, just stay right here. You ain't got to go no further. So I just appreciate that. That's awesome.
Yeah. Oh, thank you for sharing that, Tavisha. You brought some really great insight into the fear-based motivation behind the self-critic. When we really look at the inner critic and our hater, our first hater that we've ever had, and our really only hater, is that it can fuel us. And it sounds like even then when it's like, well, we're not sure, we don't want to let people down, we can't do it, a part of you rises up to prove it wrong. And I know a lot of people who use haters as fuel, you know what I mean, to overcome. And it's like, I'm gonna prove them all wrong, I'm gonna show them, right? When the hater is saying you can't do it and you gonna wind up being back here, you be like, all right, we gonna see. And so it actually fuels you to do the part that you're actually afraid to do. So the crazy thing about it is the inner critic is the creator of the fear, but it's also the fuel to get past the fear. And that is why we keep it around sometimes. That is why we keep showing our pictures and keeping our haters around or frenemies, is because we need it to fuel us to do the thing we're afraid to do. So we can say, but you're going to hit a wall with that. After a while, you'd be like, I only got nothing to prove to nobody no more. You know what I mean? It's like, let your success be your best revenge. Like, that's a critic's theme song right there. That's a hater's thing. It loves that. It's like, but you'll hit a wall with that. And after a while it becomes exhausting because it actually fuels it. And if you do that, where you are letting your haters be your fuel to success and to do the thing that's scary so you can prove people wrong and to have something to prove, to this like invisible fear, it's insatiable. You'll always never be satisfied from where you're going or the success you've actually got. You'll look at it and the hater will be like, that ain't good enough. That hater be like, $1 million house? That ain't nothing. Oh, let me show you I can get a 6 million house. I mean, that's chump change. It is insatiable. And you'll be working and enslaved, and your oppressor will be that hater. And now you're only living to impress a hater. It's like, what the hell? You know what I mean? Like, it's never satisfied. Your hater will never say, you know what, you did that. It ain't built to do it. The inner critic will never say, top of the head, you showed us. It's always going to see from the lens of like, that ain't nothing. That's all you got. And you gonna exhaust yourself trying to prove to this thing that eats and feeds off of your fear that you're good enough. And that's why we got to get rid of it. And that's why we have to turn to self-compassion, because when it's your driving force, you're going to exhaust yourself. And that's why I always tell people, never let success be your revenge. Never let your haters be your fuel. Get to the point where you don't got haters. You feel like everybody want to see you win. And that is the type of frequency that you can build and sustain that won't drain you and won't drag you. It won't drag you. So to me, that is where now turning it into outside spectator is that if you see this hater and you catch yourself in your wisdom and your maturity, like even your family, like, I can't live to please y'all. Your kids, I can't live to please you. Yourself, I can't even live to please you. Like it's insatiable. It's always going to be like, but you could do this. And if you're the kind of person that you hit a milestone or you hit a goal and you don't celebrate yourself or high five yourself, and you just be like, right, the next level, that is a telltale sign that the inner critic is driving you. The hater is driving you, because it's like, I mean, that's all right, but you could do better. It's like a slave driver. Keep on going. You could do better than that. Like, but we work real hard for this. Can we just sit here and chill? No, you can't sit. Sleeping is for suckers. All right, let's keep going. That's the inner critic. That is the hater that gonna keep pushing and pushing and pushing. So, any thoughts on that? That's a good revelation right there.
It really is.
Go ahead.
Go ahead, Keena. We'll go Keena and
Okay,
then
I was gonna
Tavisha.
say I have a thought on that because like we say we're afraid of failure, but has anyone on here ever really experienced failure where you didn't go at it again and get something better or something totally different that you didn't even imagine? Because like all of us on this call is afraid of failure, some type of failure, myself included. I was scared when I moved to Europe. I was scared moving back to the States. I was scared starting a new job. I was scared quitting that job and going to another job. And I'm always okay in every single instance.
Mm-hmm.
So like, what does real failure look like? Because every single experience that I was afraid of, I was always good in it or got a different result than what I even expected. So like, I don't even know what my own fear is and why, where it came from, or what do we really consider failure? Like if I didn't do what I wanted to do in that instance, but I did accomplish these things and I learned, what I've read somewhere that it's not a failure, it's a lesson. Like, why don't we look at it like that? Like, what lesson will I receive? What lesson? Instead of looking at it as, what if I fail? Instead of looking at it like that. Like, I learned that from you, Steffani. Like, what lesson will I get out of this? Instead of looking at it as a failure, what lesson is potentially going to come to me? And so that's why I keep going, because I'm like, shit, there's nothing I can't do. Everything that I've done, everything I've ever asked God, everything I've asked the universe for, I've gotten. It may not have been in the way that I wanted it to look like, but I've gotten it.
That's good right there, Keena. That's good insight. What does failure even really look like? And that is exactly what that step is. That step is to go back with that inner critic and ask these questions. Like, what is fear anyway for us? So that is perfect. That is a perfect analogy. Thank you for sharing that. That was on point. Tavisha, you had something?
Well, that got me together. Appreciate it, Keena. That was awesome. I'm over here like, because that's good. And I think oftentimes failure is a filler. And I say filler because it's almost like, okay, when we compartmentalize things, we say, what is it? How do we identify? You know how we have the different emotions, or different things. You got your physical, emotional, different places. And it's like we use, I think the failure was one of the bigger ones, like an umbrella to hold something in. So I put the fear under failure simply because I don't want to. Yes, it's the lesson, right? But the thought of hitting rock bottom, or the thought of having to really learn a lesson through this instead of just being on ease, I think that was what it was more so for me. And I get it. Life is going to life, and we're going to experience things. It's not going to be a upsell or everything always great. I get it, but it is very uncomfortable sometimes when you're in that valley, when you're going through something. It's also confident because you are going to get something out of it as well. But my thing more so came from, again, let me just stay on the up and up. I don't need those lows because they can be rough down there, And I think that was all. Let me just work this middle. I'm okay with being in that middle, but I think what I wanted to say, even the experience of, I was going to say my move. I think I had a lot of people saying, maybe it's not the right time. Maybe you should wait. Are you sure? And it caused me to doubt myself, even though I know what I know. Like, it's like there's nobody can tell. Like, I don't feel like I just came up with this thought. I felt like perfect timing. Everything was going the way it was supposed to go. But somehow that fear, right? It started developing because I started listening to other people. I started listening to the fear of success or achieving the goal or I just started hearing more and more and stopped listening to self that led me to that move. So that is, but now I've moved, and it's like it was the greatest thing, and it's like, thank you, Lord, that I finally did what I said I was going to do. I believed in myself, and it is just like it's a great feeling to know that you are quieting all of that chatter of doubt and that fear or whatever it is, the unknown. And even if it is a lesson to come, it's like I know that it's going to come there, but it's still a great feeling to know that I'm trusting, that process. That was another thing within fear, the process. You don't know what it looks like during that process. So that's all I was gonna say. Okay.
No, you said that beautifully. And I can hear the unraveling of your inner critic and you even getting to identify it better. Because like you said, you're already turning it, realizing that it is an outside spectator, because the outside haters you hear, your family, you only hear them because it resonates in you. So that really proves the only real hater that exists is you, is like the inner critic. And when you hear other people say it, it resonates with you because your inner critic has already said it to you. So it's not them placing the doubt in you, and it's not them placing the criticism and the hater in you. It is you, becoming a personification of that and seeing that in them. That's the only reason why it resonates. Anything that resonates within you comes from you. So you don't even have to take it personal when they say, oh, you jumping into this. You've already said it to yourself, right? Now you're just hearing someone else say it, and you only hear someone else say it because you said it to yourself. You can't hear or see anything outside of you that didn't start with you. There's stuff we miss all the time. And that's because it doesn't resonate or reside in us. So that's why I say it's only one real hater. It's the leader of the haters. And if you learn how to manage that hater, all the other ones go away, because you realize there really aren't any outside haters. It's just you. They're just repeating and saying and giving voice and sound to something that you already felt inside. That's why you have to hear it from outside of yourself, turning it into an outside spectator. So now that you can go back and forth with it and do what you got to do with it. So a lot of times we'll attract haters, right? Because we might have all these doubts, and we need to find a way to fight it, because we don't know how to pull it outside of ourselves. And then we're looking at, don't nobody want to see me win. Well, you're surrounding yourself with that because you're using it again to fuel you, or to justify, or to rectify, like however you're operating. So Dr. House had put, it's an illusion that doesn't exist. And I absolutely agree with that. And that fear, like you said, is that criticism that we carry. It's the paradox we have to understand. We can carry fear for something, and we can carry, I'm doing it anyway energy. Like they exist within us. It's just deciding where we're going to focus our attention and what is our driving force, right? And as the sort of manager of all of our wellness selves, we get to decide well, this is how we're going to navigate through it. So that was perfect. That was perfect. Thank you for that. So that brings us into now turning and shifting it into that inner compassion. So shifting perspective, and we've already started talking about this. When your inner critic speaks, imagine stepping outside of yourself and viewing the situation through the eyes of your outside spectator persona. The shift in perspective allows you to see your thoughts more objectively with greater compassion. So this is where it becomes that self-compassion, not being so hard on yourself, right? When you have that knuck if you buck, we're doing it anyway, and that energy carries you. But the shift of perspective of realizing that our hater is looking through life through a small window and lens. It's in a little room where we get to live in all of life. And it speaks from, like I said, a place of fear, from doubt, from past experiences. It's a scared child. It's a coward. And it doesn't have any light. It doesn't have any way to go out and do these great things. That's its only little cell that it's in. And so when you start looking at that part of you with compassion and really, like, sometimes, like you say, you look at those haters and you see yourself doing well, and now they doing well, and you can almost, like, you can see they look, tired, or they look exhausted, or they look away. You start looking at it with really a compassion. And so this is where a good, like, when I started journaling my inner critic and really giving it a persona, understanding it, when I started doing my visualization of my inner critic, I saw a very young in spirit, like a real scaredy cat type of person, that didn't have my confidence, that was not connected to his intuition, that was stuck in its trauma, that just was scared all the time. And I started looking at it with compassion, like I was someone else that's not doing as well as me, right? And I wouldn't look at them like, hi, your life sucks. Like, I'm not even that person in real life to outside haters. So I had to start looking at that part of me with compassion and say, you just don't know no better. And I started the knuck if you buck, it started getting softer to that part of me to say, when they say, I don't know if we could do this, man, this is like a new level, man. I don't know. Like, I don't know if we're ready for this. I would have to look at it with compassion and say, we're going to be okay. It's going to be okay. I got us. And it's okay for you to be scared because that's what you do well. However, I hear you, but we're going to do it anyway. And I know that you don't get access to this part of me, and you're learning to really get to that point of coming out. I'm not going to force you out, but we got this. And it's okay. It's okay to be scared. It's okay, right? I started almost affirming that inner critic. And the more I softened myself to that and understood the perspective of the ego, then the more I could really overtake it, where the inner criticism became smaller and smaller and smaller. It was shorter. It wasn't a whole, like, I got to stand up here and tell you a whole speech of why it's going to be terrible. It would just be, it started to be smaller voices like, yeah, but we're afraid, or we just don't know, or, oh, okay, I know we're going to do it anyway, but damn, this is going to suck, right? It's very cynical. So because it already know me, it's like, Stephanie going. So I started having more of that confidence, and I started having more of that compassion, and not bypassing it, sitting with it, taking the space, especially when you're about to do something really big and scary. Especially after this time with my wreck, I really saw that my inner critic, my inner hater was very, very small, because now it's starting to see the evidence of gratitude and all these other great things. And it's starting to want to come out the window a little bit. Like, I mean, it's some stuff out there. It's a scary world, but it's always going to be that scaredy cat. But it's like, I think we want to come along too, because we kind of trust her, and we kind of think at this point she know what she's doing. The inner critic is ego based, which means it lives in our intellect, which means you can change by changing your perspective. You can give it new data and information where it starts doubting its doubts. It starts looking at evidence based, like, well, hold on, because it can only deal with facts and figures and like logic. So it'll start looking, and when you feed it with gratitude and you're saying, but we've always, like what Keena said, we've always gotten what we wanted. We're always winning. Things always work for us. And you start feeding it that, it starts looking at the evidence of past, times you've overcome stuff. It's taking in that data, and now it starts questioning itself. And that's when you're getting good, because it's like, well, hold on. but it's scary. But then when we did it scared, we kept doing it scared, and then we kept winning, and then that's where you want to be, in that good place. It sounds absolutely insanity, but it really is. But that change of perspective and starting to have the compassion for that inner critic and not being hard on yourself, and why do I keep beating myself, and understanding its purpose and all these steps before, is literally how we alchemize that inner critic and that fear, and how we turn it into gratitude, how we turn it into new fuel that can really propel us, where we don't have to do it so hard, where we don't have to drag ourselves or do it scared. Our goal in our transformation is to become fearless, because our spirit is not made of fear. So I'm not teaching, or I'm not helping people to live with the fear. No, I'm helping people to transform, to say you actually can do it fearless. We don't have to be courageous. Courageous is just the first step. That's the baby step. But our goal is to transform and do these practices and go in and learn ourselves, so that we can actually evolve to the point of becoming fearless. Because our spirit is not made of fear at all. We don't have to live with it. We don't have to always just say, well, I got this fear thing and I got to carry it for the rest of my life. You can, but what if I told you you can also go through life fearless? Seems like, oh my God, something I would love to attain. But doing these type of practices, we're really understanding these different parts of ourselves and learning how to really go in, is one of those steps that we do towards our own evolution. So we only got a few more minutes left, and it's the very last step. And I encourage you again to go through the app. It lays out all of the steps. And even as it's a great prompting for your journaling, as you're really, if you want to go deeper into your inner critic and you really want to build this out and really develop it more, please reach out to me. This is something I really love to do. And helping people to really navigate through their inner critic and be able to do things with that less and less self negative talk, and to, even if you could reduce that more and more and more, then that is definitely work I can do with you one-on-one, if you decide that, yep, this is something I really need to deep dive into. So the last step is be patient and persistent. So transforming your inner critic into an outside spectator is a gradual process that takes time and practice. Be patient with yourself and persistently applying these techniques and journaling a little bit every day, being very aware when it comes up, and turning that into self-compassion and gratitude statements. Dr. House has said it a little bit too. Tavisha did, even Kina had brought up. So we'll sort of close on any ideas. As you've been sitting here and thinking of your inner critic, your hater, right? We know our hater so well, and what parts of our lives it really likes to hate on. So with that, can anybody think of here now a part of that hater you would like to give a compassionate or gratitude statement? For example, my hater really hates that I want to be healed, and that I want to live as big of life as I can. It hates that about me. It hates my confidence. It hates this drive that I have. It hates this joy that I carry naturally. It hates that. So I'm looking at that hater and I'm saying, I understand. I understand that I have access to something that you don't, but I promise you, you get to come along with me. I'm gonna cry right now. I won't leave you. You served us. You helped push us in the hard parts of our lives. And we're grateful for you. But this part of our life, you don't get to lead. You have to be led. So something like that. Sorry, it's very, very good exercise. But does anybody have any, a statement like that they can think of, they could speak to their inner critic with right now, and turning into a compassion space? Oh my God, y'all got real quiet. I'm sorry, I got a little emotional. I broke up the mood. Sorry.
No, ma'am, it is not you. It is definitely because of the participation I have. I just went through my little emotional experience as well. Just letting that, there's no more room, there's no more space for you. I am healed and I am believing. So I just had my whole little meltdown as well.
No, you're good. And we know it's like it could be in our weight loss, it could be in relationships, right? We know where that hater is, even right now in our life, the most of something that we're dealing with, rather it's career, rather it's ready to step into a new big space. And something you would like to tell that hater right now.
I think my words would be, I'm going to do it anyway.
There you go. That's it right there. And sometimes you know your hater, like I can't give it that much attention because it'll keep trying to take me back and forth. And I love that for you, Shantae. That's what it is. We doing it anyway. So it's like that kid that be like, come on. It's like, I love that.
Good morning, ladies.
Hi, Leeches.
Hey, I don't necessarily know if this is a gratitude statement, but it's just kind of evident in my life that over the course of, I would say, the last 10 years, I've had a lot of naysayers tell me what I cannot do. And just like Dr. Howe just said, I did it anyway and became successful at it in a lot of different areas. So doing it anyway.
That's it. And if you get to that number one naysayer, like I said, is yourself. You're the leader of the pack and the haters, and you can address it. You be amazed at how the other haters melt away because they follow in its lead.
Oh yeah, they fell off real quickly too.
They do. Sorry, Ebony, go ahead.
Yes. The way that I realized that the haters show up is through like it comes off as like worry. It comes off as concern, but it's really like worry, and it seems like the reason for it or the intention is well intended, but it still can come off as hater energy because it's still, limiting your capacity or limiting just the idea of what you can do. And so the way I guess move through that is through like affirming that I'm gonna be good regardless. Like I heard the song "We Gonna Be All Right." Like we gonna be all right,
That's a good one.
So that's just what I want to add.
I'm gonna play that the next time my inner critic comes. It's gonna be like, this bitch. I swear to God, she always be playing it. Hates it. But no, that's beautiful. Thank you. Ebony, I wrote that down and that's why I said our haters are so unique to us. And when you said that, that was actually one of my clients. Hers really came off. It was hard to identify because it almost came off like it was so concerned for her. And it was like, it's well intended. I'm just trying to keep you safe and protected. It was very passive aggressive, which surprisingly is a lot like her mom. She realized growing up, it was just like, no, this is what's best for you. I trust me. Like it hid itself in this well-intended, I'm here for you thing. And we know we got haters like that. That's just like, girl, and those what I call like frenemies, like, girl, I'm just trying to tell this for you because I'm looking out for you. And you'd be like, I mean, those are the really hard ones to identify. But thank you for pointing that out because, like I said, the more you know your hater, the more you can know when that voice comes up. But I thank you guys so much. I appreciate you all's time and your attention and taking this time out for yourselves and really diving deep into some of these really intricate parts of life and the dynamics that make us up. we're right at time, but I want to just leave like any last parting words you have to say about this or anything you want to share. We'll just take like 1 or 2 minutes to share any closing thoughts or ideas or anything, your wisdom, because y'all all here are wise. We're all learning from each other. I wrote notes from what y'all done said. But any parting wisdom or words or thoughts you would like to share with the group, because we're all here to feed into one another. Ah, look at Miss Moore coming on camera with her fine self. Got the Mrs. Moore therapist. You're on mute, mama. You're on mute. Turn yourself off of mute. Do I got you on mute? I know I ain't muted you. Can she unmute? Sorry, we're trying to get her unmute. You're still on mute. You're not on mute. I can't hear you.
if you're tapping the thing, just tap it once, because I kept doing that too. So
Oh, okay.
that might be it too.
Yeah, I asked her to unmute, but I think it's her phone. Yeah, it's your phone. She's like, yeah, it's my phone.
Yeah, she was
We just look
unmuted,
at your
but then it would
beautiful
go right
smile
back
and
to
we
mute.
know everything you say. Sorry, go ahead, Keena.
She was unmuting, but then it would go right back to mute. So I don't know what that was doing.
I don't know why it's not muting. Maybe she'll figure it out. Well, can you hear us? Shake your head yes if you can hear me. Okay. Well, keep hitting your unmute button to see if it'll let you come in. Just keep playing with it. Hey, Cheyenne, my love.
Hey. Oh, wait. Hey.
Hey, you missed a dynamic hour. We broke apart a bunch of stuff, but I'm recording it and I'm gonna send it to you.
Okay, so this is the problem. The time difference gets me every time.
I know, EST.
Yeah, I'm
I be trying to
sorry.
put that EST on in, but for all the people all over. But it was great, and people were giving last parting words about turning the inner critic into an outside spectator, and everybody just has some really beautiful wisdom words to share. Dr. House, you got any parting words for us, Coach? In the coaching circle, which her and I are going to do some cool stuff together soon. So, but any parting words?
I think the part word for me would just be, as I continue to say, just trust the process.
That part right there. Trust the process for sure. That part, trust. Yeah. Well, I love you all. I'm a call Star and then see what she had to say, and then I'm gonna send it to y'all because oh wait, she's coming back in. Here we go. I feel like I really want to hear what she got to say. All right, now you rocking and rolling.
Hello. Good morning, everyone.
Yeah, I was like, we're not getting off here until we hear what she got to say. Go ahead.
So I'm an acronym queen. I love acronyms. So I just want to leave everybody with acronyms. Thank you for creating this space, such a wonderful space.
Yes.
And, set the intention to have a fantastic week for everyone on this call. But my acronyms are like the fear-based acronym. Fear is an acronym for false evidence appearing real.
Oh, yeah.
False evidence. And the word no is an acronym for next opportunity. No is for next opportunity. So if you hear no too much, it's next opportunity. My situation's a little opposite of the opposite. I didn't have an internal naysayer or hater. I didn't have that internally, just mainly because there was so many external stuff with like school and stuff. Like I had a lot of external haters that I had to find a space at an early age to motivate myself to keep going. So
kind of what Steffani explained earlier, I was one of those people that was like, oh, you guys totally motivated me by saying I couldn't do that. Like, oh, I have ADHD and I can't get a doctorate. I got the doctorate. So those are just typical things that, oh, you said I can't fly on a private jet, so I'll just go get a private jet. So the more people say things that are negative, the more it fuels me. So, and the pain is my power. So hopefully, and people understanding that no is an acronym for next opportunity, and fear is false evidence appearing real. And when in doubt, you can always go to Whitney Houston's song, and she will definitely empower you. I'm every woman.
I didn't sing it.
The greatest of the wall, like all of those songs. I think you should definitely make a power playlist.
Yeah.
So be conscious of what you're listening to. Have a fantastic week. Thank you again, Steffani, for this space.
Thank you. That's fuel. That's food and fuel right there. I love that acronym. God, that fear it's a real thing. I mean, it could paralyze you. It could just terrorize, especially if you had, like, even with a health scare or with anything, right? It has all this evidence to be like, but we got the evidence. And you got to be like, but I live in impossibility. So it could not happen. It's just so evidence-based and so logic. And it's like, but the numbers, you know what I mean? So that's the sucky part.
If you think about it, like even some childhood, some of them are really, really morbid, but the Row, Row, Row Your Boat song was really literally about like life and how it should really actually be. So it's row, row, row your boat gently down the stream. And you notice it says row your boat, not row other people's boat, row your boat gently down the stream. And then merrily, 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 which means you should have been rowing your boat happily. Life is but a dream. So you dream it, you see it, you're rowing your boat merrily. You're not crashing down the river in your boat. You're not looking and jumping in other people's boat. Like their boat looks bigger and shinier, which is what a lot of people do with like social media. Oh, woe is me. It looks like they have a really happy marriage, or they look like they have a beautiful house. Why don't I? Those are like those intrusive thoughts that can actually knock you off the course of your algorithm. So the same algorithm that every time you search for something online, you have to set your own algorithm within your own internal clock. And so that way you can start attracting much faster, expeditiously. You become a master
that
manifestor.
Is perfect. I love that. You are absolutely right. That's good. That is so accurate. And so then I would love to get you on the call for our next one. It's actually the course, the next course that's in the thing, and it's really helping people to take envy energy and transform it and alchemize it into passion. Because I always say, like, I like my envy when I'm looking on social media and I see someone doing these great things, right? One people will internalize and say, I'm not good enough in this, but it's like you can actually alchemize the energy and the emotion of envy. And so we're really going to go in the course, and it's like a 6-part course of teaching people how to take emotions and actually alchemize them to other emotions that can help us. So when you have to be aware and honest with yourself. When I see somebody doing that, I'm envious. We can use that emotion, but you can transform envy energy into passion. Right. And it's a different type of driver versus they have that and I want to have that, or they have that and I don't think I can get it and I'm not good enough. Right. You can take that and say, wow, like Star is a perfect person for me, because when we first started learning manifesting and we were all in class thinking our manifestation was the top, like I want to be first class. I want to fly first class. You couldn't tell me that was the top of the line for me. And I was like, I'm going to fly first class everywhere I go. That was the top of my brain. And then she comes and says, well, I'm on a jet. I'm like, wait, you could do that? She's like, it's the same energy. I'm like, she would always just top my thought. Like, I didn't even know that there was a top to my top. So that was a way, like, again, the envious energy, like, oh my gosh, she has such big ideas. But I was able to take that energy and alchemize it into passion and say, wow, what a fun way to expand. What a fun way to, like, never thought that the same faith it takes me to want to fly first class is the same type of faith for me to want to own a jet. Like there's no, well, that's too big. Like it's the same equal. So that is what the next course is a 6-part course, and it talks about how to alchemize these energy, right? How do we know the difference between if we're suppressing emotion or we're actually restraining, right? When a lot of times they say, I ain't gonna say that, I'm gonna keep it to myself, but the emotion is already generated, right? If someone irritates you, the ball has already formed. So we're either going to express it or we're going to suppress it, right? Or the third choice, we can alchemize it and transform the energy into another emotion. It's gonna be out of this world. But that is a perfect example, Star, of what you're saying, of how to alchemize that energy and move it into something else bigger for yourself as a driving force. So anyway, that's just a sneak peek to what to come. But thank you for sharing that, because that right there is mastery work right there on ourselves. But I love you all. I'm mindful of your time. Thank you, everybody, for chiming in. I love you all so much. Have a wonderful, beautiful week. We're ending this month, June, entering into July, which is the best month of the year. And I really thank y'all. I love y'all so much. Have a wonderful, beautiful week.
Thank you.
Bye, everybody.
Bye. Till next time.